Okay, we've got a somewhat confusing problem for problem 90, and the AP Calculus test here is capitalizing on the fact that you've been working for 3.5 hours and you're stressed and you want to go home. You don't really want to think. That being said, this problem is actually pretty straightforward if you can dissect it correctly. This right here is from pre-calc. These are inverse functions, meaning one undoes the other. We spent quite a bit of time on that last year. So basically saying that if one function gives a value, the other function undoes that and gives the initial inputted value. In terms of derivatives of inverse functions, not trig functions, but just regular algebraic functions, there's a pretty important concept to look at. So they're asking for the values of g of 8 and g prime of 8, and they give us the values of the other half of that inverse function. So I think we know that g of 8 is going to give 3, so it's not going to be these values here. It's going to give the opposite input to output ratio. So right now we could theoretically guess. That being said, let's do something that I think will be helpful visually for you guys to see. If I graph an inverse function, just any inverse function that I can think of, and I'm going to go ahead and plot the point 9, 1 with a linear function. Okay? The inverse of this linear function is going to have the output 1, 9. Okay? And I'm doing a really ugly job here. 1, 9. So you could say that the slope of this function right here is 1/9. And you could say that the slope of this function right here is 9. So if you think of slopes of inverse functions just basically being reciprocals of each other, well, what was the slope of f at 3? It was 9. So what's the slope of g going to be at that other point? Because again, the points now have shifted. This was the slope at different points. Would be 1/9. And so the functions aren't going to always have constant slope. So it is relevant to the inputted value. So the correct answer choice was E. Kind of a weird concept. You might want to do a few of these out. Even make up your own inverse functions that aren't constants if you really want to get this point. If you're shooting for that 5 and you really want to make sure, even shooting for that perfect score, that you really want to get every single point, understand every single concept. I'll be honest, this is not a major concept on the AP exam, and it's very likely that we wouldn't even see a problem like this. But it doesn't hurt to think about it. Alright, we're very close to the end. I'll see you at problem 91.